Andrew, I know I'm gonna butcher your last name, how do you pronounce it?
It's Bodowis.
Bodowis.
Right.
So Andrew Bodowis is from Park Grove,
Correct.
the private developer, and then we have Jason Lash, and I'm sorry, sir,
Tony Francicelli.
Tony Francicelli, both from the Auburn Community Hospital.
And Tony's the board chair of Auburn. I'm the acting CFO.
So,
Take it away.
all right, thank you. Thanks for having us in this afternoon. And for those, as Jason said, I'm chairman of the board of trustees for Auburn Community Hospital. And this project is a high priority for the board, and it's a great project for this community. So well needed, will be a cornerstone for Auburn Community Hospital where it's going to sit, and it will make it so much easier for community members to be able to get the services they need locally right here in Auburn. And we're partnering, some of the doctors from upstate will be servicing this facility. So we're going to have a state-of-the-art facility and outstanding doctors and our local nurses maintaining this facility. So really, I think Andy and Jason probably has the details behind this whole project as our acting CFO at the hospital. So I'd like to turn it over to you and try to answer any questions at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the time to talk about the project. It's good to see many of you I haven't seen in years. So that's very nice to do. It's about a $14 million project in total. The hospital, the board, Scott Berlucci have been working with SUNY on this for years. A couple years ago, they started a hematology service at the hospital. And this was the next progression of that, to offer radiation services. So currently radiation services are not offered in Auburn. You have to travel to Syracuse. Oswego, Cortland, they all have radiation services. So SUNY wants to partner with this to provide the professional services and oversee the center. Andy is going to develop the property for us. There's about an acre of land on the corner of North Street and Lansing. It's a parking lot that we would sell to Andy. He would develop the property for us. We would lease it back and have an option to purchase in the future if we're able to raise some funds. Without Park Grove, we would not be able to financially do this project at all. We don't have the resources to pay $9 million to build the building, and we don't have that cash outflow to do that. So this is the way that we could do it, the only way, and we really are appreciative that Andy wants to work with us on this project. Our ask is that, you take a look at this as if we were putting it up on ourselves, right? Because we wouldn't have to pay any taxes on it and, sales tax and all that stuff. And then the lease is a pass-through. So any costs that he incurs are going to come to us through the rent. It's a highly leveraged deal, right? So right now we put in a certificate of need with New York State. So that is in. It's going to take months to get it approved, but we've got all that in. We want to get everything rolling so that Andy could take advantage of the construction season in May. But it has not been approved yet. The Department of Health normally likes a equity contribution of at least 10%. We're putting in 5%. So the equipment will all be leased also. So there's a significant amount of equipment in this, another $4 to $5 million. It'll be state of the art, just as if you were in Syracuse. So the same equipment that they have. And that's the summary. Andy can go through the pictures and what it's going to look like. But we wouldn't be able to do it without the developer in mind, based on our financial resources that we have at the hospital.
Excuse me, what is it you're looking for from us?
At this point, Andy's put in he's worked with, right, Taylor.
Yeah.
So Jim, Taylor and I had gone to the city last month, for the initial meeting with their planning department, and this project is starting the planning process. It's a bit backwards. Usually, we'll present a project to the IDA after they go through the planning process. But we thought it would be good just to kind of expose what this project is to the IDA, so they can kind of wrap their head around it, as it's not, it wouldn't be a traditional structure of a project. And
Okay,
Jason's already explained, so they're not asking for anything, it's just kind of an overview of this project that would be coming to the IDA at some point for incentives.
okay.
So, thank you, Danielle. As Danielle said, my name is Andy Bodewis, and my company is Park Grove Realty. We're based in Rochester and have developed throughout the Finger Lakes for years. And we've been working with Jason and Scott at the hospital for since spring. We started talking to them, and they were far along in their desire to want to have a cancer center in Auburn that would alleviate the need for people in the community to drive to Syracuse or Rochester for daily cancer treatment. And we began talking to them in an effort to help them be able to provide something that's really important to the community. And so we have a lot of experience in community development projects. It's kind of the hallmark of what we do. We're currently working with Cuyahoga Medical Center on actually a very large project on 13 right in the center of Ithaca. And we're working on this project with Holt Architects, and Holt is also working on the project with us in Ithaca. For us, it's all about providing a really nice development that's an asset to the community, whether it's a medical office building we're developing or apartments. We do a lot of apartments, and we also develop mixed-use buildings. We're looking to create a real asset for the community, something that's beneficial to the community. If that's in fact true and it's beneficial to the community, it's beneficial to us as the owners. In this case, it's unique because we are working very closely with the hospital. As Jason said, we will have an acre of land that we'll subdivide and we will take ownership of. But essentially what happens is we take on all the obligations of building and developing this property, providing the financial backing and guarantees and all those sorts of things to make it happen. And ultimately we'll enter a long-term lease agreement with the hospital, and the hospital will run and operate it as though it's their building. And this is a very common way of making these kinds of projects happen. And we're very happy to be working with the hospital to help make this happen. With that said, I'd like to take a moment, and if I need to move, just tell me, because I'm going to share with you the visuals and plans of what we have developed thus far. We did meet with the city staff. We have submitted for site plan approval at the city. We're on the agenda on March 1st for initial site plan meeting with the city planning board. The city is very much in favor of this project, and I believe like the project a lot. And ultimately, as Jason mentioned, we would want to work with you for a tax structure, a pilot of some kind that would be similar or substantially similar or identical to what it might be if the hospital were to own this. And essentially, for all intents and purposes, this is a hospital building. They will be operating it. We may have title to it, but it will be the hospital's operation. And so we'll come back to you after we have city approval. That's what we will be seeking, and in addition to sales tax and those sorts of things that will be a benefit to making this happen, and as Jason mentioned, a direct savings to the hospital. And so what I want to do is share with you what we developed. I'm trying to think of how I can do this. Can you all see this if I hold this up? Is that?
You might have
Come
to
closer.
go right up to the-
So what I'm gonna,
Where is it?
The
it's
computer.
above there.
Use above the, which way?
This way, the laptop.
No, I know, but you're saying, come, I'm watching.
Yeah,
up
come
there.
closer to the laptop.
Laptop,
Closer even?
yes,
Yep.
yeah, there you go.
How's that?
Good. That's good.
Okay, and what I'm gonna do is just turn for a moment too, for the people, the benefit of the people here. So this, what this shows is, as you can see, we've located this in the front of the parking lot on North and Lansing Street at the corner. And there's a couple things that are important to accomplish by doing that. One, it is a really, I think, attractive and new building that there's a great incentive to have it up on the street front and improve the streetscape up on the front. And so the other thing that's important is to have it on the hospital grounds. And Jason knows more about the importance of that, but it has to do with the ability to recover the drug costs and that sort of thing, and how the billing system works for that. So we are locating it right up on the street front. I think it's a very attractive building. You'll see the elevations have various look to them. So the corner of the building is essentially, and I'll show you when we get to the floor plan, is where the linear accelerator is located, and that has about 4 or 5 feet of concrete around it, and so that's why this looks like a big block building. And I think what the architects have done is nice, and it will be unique, and there's some additional features that are hard to see on here that will give it a little more character. And then in the middle of the building, there's a gabled roof structure that adds a little shape to it. And as you get off to the northern end, there's this side of the building will have more of the chemo and infusion treatments, and I'll show you that when we get to the floor plan. There's a lot of windows on this end of the building, which will be nice for people as they're sitting there receiving their treatment. This is the other side of the building. So if you were to visualize the hospital, this would have a parking lot in between the hospital, and this would be the front, essentially now the front of this cancer center building. It'll have a drop off. I'll show you that there. And so there's a nice portico with a drop off for patients, and then the parking lot. And this is another perspective of that same kind of area. Let's see, you can see down at the other end, there's a lot of windows, and that's where the infusion area is. And so there will be a lot of ability to sit and have a nice visual. Outside those windows, we plan to have a nice healing garden and some nice plantings that will be attractive to look at. And then this is kind of a look, if you were across the street on North Street, what the, from a distance. I know there's no grass field there, but it just gives you a sense with a perspective of what the building would look like. This is another kind of with a little more angle to it on the same visual, and allows you to see kind of the windows where the healing garden would be over on this side as well. And then this is the site plan. You can see where the building's situated between the hospital over here, the building, and then parking here, utilizing the same access on Lansing, and circulation here, drop off, and then be able to pull out. And then there'll be a shared and coordination between the hospital and the other adjacent uses. And then lastly, and this may be a little hard for you to depict exactly what's happening here, but this is the floor plan of the building. You would come in, there's a little lobby, sitting, waiting area. This side of the building, this has the linear accelerator. This has a CT scan, and would allow people who are coming in to essentially just come right in. Waiting area for people who do need to sit and wait. And then this end of the building is the area for infusion treatment, and has all the windows and then some various offices and patient visit offices and doctor's offices as well. Essentially, what's happening here in the hospital is working very closely with our design team. Is that you have a very comprehensive, self-sustaining cancer center on the campus, so that there's all the services that are needed will be within this building, and it'll be fully staffed by Auburn Community Hospital nurses and staff, and then the upstate doctors will be on site. So that gives you an idea of the building, and we're available for any questions.
Jason, can you clarify for me, will this be for adult cancer patients only, or will it also have services for pediatric cancer patients? I ask because I'm the mother of a pediatric cancer survivor, so I know that drive to Syracuse like that.
Yeah, I would actually have to check on that, but I can get back to you on that.
I'm just curious about it. As I said, I had that experience 20-some years ago for my daughter. But I think this is a beautiful facility. I think it's a great idea. I think our hospital's doing pretty interesting and amazing things in the way that you're looking at your service delivery lines. So I'm really excited. Thank you for bringing this way of doing this piece of business to our community.
Thanks for having us.
Jason, Roger Beer, I just had a quick question. Do you have any sense of, from the Department of Health about the viability of the certificate of need? I mean, you feel pretty confident that it's going to be approved?
We hope so. I mean, we had a lot of input from SUNY. They have a letter of support for the project with Dr. Corona. The numbers show that it would be a positive cash flow. You know, the hematology side of things has been going great for us, right? That's moving into that building. The radiation isn't as profitable because of it's so capital intensive, right? But we hope, I mean, you never know, but we hope that it gets approved. SUNY reviewed our application. They were very involved in the projections, giving us data, you know, on that. So, you know, you never know until you know, but you know, we're confident it's going to get approved. The question would be, we're not contributing a lot of equity to it. So that's why anything, you know, anything that can help us in that regard, if questions come up, I think would be helpful, right? In terms of reducing our operating costs for the building and the triple net and whatnot. But, you know, I think it will get approved. It could take a few months, right? It takes everything slowed down a little bit. So it went in December, and you know, we haven't had any questions yet. They are looking at it. So we're hoping that it'll be approved within the next couple of months.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else have questions?
I do.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim, I have some questions.
You have a question,
Can I
Terry?
go next?
I think
Jimmy Giantino has some questions.
Yeah, I think Bill was asking questions too. I don't want to step all over. I think he froze up though.
I'll have to exit and everything.
I guess,
Other people to unmute and unfroze it. That's not my luck.
so what is the overall price tag of the project?
14 million.
14 million. And
Okay, I've got a few things. Yeah, Jim, I have a few things.
I was wondering when you were going to bring them up, Bill.
Yeah, do you guys hear me?
Yeah, but your photo's locked up.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Bill.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
He may not be able to hear us.
I'm sending a message right now. Yeah, you should disconnect and reconnect.
Jimmy, do you want to keep asking?
Yeah, what would the lease period be?
10 years, 20 years? 30?
It's a 20-year with a 10-year extension, so it would be about a 30-year, right now it'd be a 30-year agreement.
And the reason I asked this, I mean, you know, full disclosure, we attempted to do a project like this at the city when we were doing the public safety building. That was the original proposal that was brought to us, and what we found was it greatly escalated costs rather than us doing it ourselves. And the $1 million question was at the end of it, who owns it?
That's right.
And nobody could ever answer that question for us, which was very odd to me. And then that's why we kind of scrapped that and went the way we went. And obviously, we were fortunate enough to get state funding and federal funding to help us build what we have now. So I say that understanding both sides of the story, that this makes it affordable for you to do, but what does it do to the overall cost of it? It's basically my question, and what that time period would be. Are you seeking additional federal and state funding for this project on top of a pilot?
No, not at this time, no. We have some other grants that we've just put in for the Department of Health Transformation Grants. So we put another $21 million in yesterday to locate a cardiac center on campus and to expand our operating rooms.
Hi, Rick Cook. So I'm in now.
Who's that?
And we just had a $12 million grant that we used to buy the former Cuyahoga County Nursing Home, to buy the Nelson Street building next door to us. And then we're in the process of renovating 16,600 square feet in the hospital to convert that to physician office space.
And the reason I ask about additional federal and state grants, looking at the governor's executive budget for 2022, 2023, there is significant funding in there for what I would believe would be this type of project. Modernizing hospitals, recognizing that healthcare in this state is taking a hit, that there hasn't been significant investment in healthcare across the state. And COVID actually uncovered all that, right? What a lot of people already knew. And, you know, would that be a route that you could take to help finance this project? Understanding that the property's already not on the tax rolls, but if we're building, I mean, what do we think that this building's gonna be a $14 million building?
$9 million.
$9 million building. You know, if it could be built with state funding, privately owned, that the city, the county, the school district could recoup that tax base. Because that's something that we have to walk that line and justify it, not only in our minds, but to the taxpayers as well. Yes, are we, you know, supporting a project that brings good to the community while also understanding that that tax base gets smaller and smaller, both through population and through properties that are off the tax roll. So that's why I'm asking that question. If there was an opportunity to go after other funding.
Yeah, we built in an opportunity to purchase the building, right? So we can ask for a grant, right, to try to get that paid for at some point to buy it back. And that would be the goal, is to buy it back, you know, if we can. But we haven't been very successful raising a lot of money, you know, through our own means other than state funding. And yes, there's a lot of money in that. Any political help we can get to get it, we would love that, to do that. The state has been very supportive of Auburn in the last few years with the $12 million grant and other monies that we received, and we hope that we can get more on that side. This pays for itself, you know, in terms of the project. Again, it's a parking lot, and you know, right now there isn't any, you know, we aren't paying any property taxes on that lot. But it would benefit, you know, at least 200 people a year who are making that daily drive to get their radiation services. And, you know, we treat everybody, no matter if they can afford it or not. So.
How many additional jobs do you forecast this to create?
There'd be 6 or 7 more jobs than what we have now. It's about 400,000 in payroll for those jobs.
Are they nurses? Are they physicians?
Nurses. Yeah, nurses. It's a professional contract with SUNY, so we'd be paying them directly for the physician portion. So that's not included. It'd be nurses, assistants.
Bill, are you back on yet? I'm sure what Bill wanted to ask was labor and using local labor. What is the game plan? And how many people?
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me. You can't hear me.
We can.
He's not coming through.
I can, maybe he can call in.
If you want me to address the labor question, I'd be happy to.
Yeah. Please.
I don't know if he's gonna hear you, but hold on a second. Why don't we just have him call in? He seems to be having issues with his internet.
Are you calling?
I just sent him a text and asked him to call in.
Real quickly while we're waiting on Bill,
Do you have a number that he can call?
He has.
this is Rob Poyer, one of the attorneys for the authority. Is the actual medical equipment going to be part of this project and part of the financial assistance that you're going to be seeking sales tax assistance with? Or would you be doing like a TELP or something for that?
We have a lease, signed up, vendor finance lease for the equipment.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Was she able to get a hold of Bill?
We're in the process right now.
Maybe I want to make sure I'm understanding the timing. So you said it, if I heard you correctly, so tell me if I didn't. You said at some point you might be coming to us with interest about a pilot. Did I hear you say that correctly?
Well, yes, yes, we would be looking at, so we want to go through and I think to follow the normal course of going through the city planning process first, and then after that's completed, we'd be coming back here looking for assistance, the sales tax, you know, a payment in lieu of tax agreement that's currently it's, as Jason said, it's not on the tax roll, and if the hospital did it all on its own, it wouldn't be taxed.
Right.
In any way,
Right.
as well, and so, yes, we would be coming back to try to work that out after. At this point, we really just wanted to give everyone an introduction to the project and let you know what we're doing and make you aware of it, and then be able to have this conversation, have any of your questions that we can answer or address.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand. I thought that's what I heard.
And just while we're waiting to the timing,
If and when you go for a pilot, how long a pilot would you be looking for?
I think we'd be looking for the term of the lease, because honestly, it's a hospital project, and so the benefit during the 30-year term for the benefit of the hospital is what we'd be looking for.
A 30-year pilot?
Correct.
Okay.
Again, the way it's structured for the deal, the way the deal works, the hospital is responsible for all the taxes. So it's not, you know, it's not like you're providing us a direct, as a private developer benefit, you're providing the benefit to the hospital.
Rob, how does that work?
In what respect though? Where you, or Jim, sorry.
The pilot would be held by the hospital, but the construction and all of that would be done by a different entity that's not asking for the pilot?
So no, so the developer is going to, the hospital is going to subdivide the property. They're going to subdivide the property and sell off that acre of land to the developer.
Yeah.
Who's then going to lease it to the hospital. And so all the AIDA would be in privity with the developer, and the developer in the first instance would enter into the pilot agreement with AIDA. And then the pilots would be passed, the pilot payments would be passed through to the hospital as part of the lease.
Okay, but the pilot would be with the contract
Yeah, with the developer. Yeah.
developer.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
just to kind of clarify this, and I want to kind of restate it. What I'm imagining is based on what Rob and our guests here have said, is that the public benefit is having a cancer center in Auburn. There's not enough capital to make this property, so Park Grove is going to buy the land, and the pilot's going to be for 30 years. And at the end of 30 years, there's going to be some structure to have the hospital buy back that land. It's interesting. Usually at the end of a pilot, then something goes on back on the tax rolls. But the question that we as a organization need to do is, based on this very unorthodox situation, we need to weigh out, I guess the need as the hospital is identifying for this public service of having a cancer center in Auburn. So, I think if we frame it in the sense of, as it being the need, I get it. And I see the value in that. But I guess what the board needs to do is just kind of like see how AIDA fits into that. And I agree with Councilor Giannatino, my colleague. I do think there is value in having the city really push the state for trying to get help funding for this, because it is definitely a worthwhile project, and as however much funding can be secured for a project like this can lessen the load of the pilot and lessen the load on the taxpayers. So I think as you go in the planning process, please reach out to the mayor and us on council. We would definitely write letters of support. At least I would write letters of support for this project, because I think there are opportunities out there for funding. But I see the value in the project. I just want to say that, and obviously we're going to need to know a little bit more, but conceptually I get it. So thank you for your presentation today.
Okay, can I go now?
Sure, Bill.
Hello? Okay,
Yes,
I
Billy.
apologize. I apologize for that, and I appreciate the patience. I've never had that happen. I have Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. So anyways, I've got some things I want to say and that I need to say. I am the representative of labor, and Jim was right. That's always one of my first concerns, local labor. And but the concern I have a lot in my heart for Auburn Hospital. I started there and worked in the laundry department when I was a junior in high school. I stayed there for 10 years until I moved on. And I love the place, but my heart breaks every time I'm in there. And you're talking about building this cancer center, and I am a cancer survivor. And I know the importance of it. I just had my oldest sister die of pancreatic cancer down in North Carolina. I understand the importance of it, but I have some thoughts. Right now, the AFSCME 3124 group, which is where I cut my teeth, is in contract negotiations. Last time it took forever. What they received, I couldn't believe they accepted. I wouldn't have taken that garbage and just excuse me, it's just me saying what I believe in my heart. I wouldn't have taken that garbage to any of my members. I would have been impeached Healthcare, substantial increases, very little increases in money. They're all understaffed. All my brothers and sisters that work there are all understaffed from every department. Nurses' aides running around not knowing what to do next because they're so busy. And then my brothers and sisters from SEIU, they are so understaffed. They are so incredibly understaffed. So people are very poorly treated there. RNs, you have to pay big money to where you don't get them. But the rank and file people that make that place go are so underpaid and so mistreated. And every time there's a contract, there's a big, well, we can't do it. We can't do a quarter. Come on. So, and then the other thing is, I don't like the way you treat the people. Plus, I don't like the way the place looks. With COVID, I haven't been up there much. Plus, my family goes very little there anymore because there's no confidence. But if you go into the ER and you sit there, it's dirty. It's falling apart. Doors don't work. Automatic doors don't work. The last time I was in there, there was a family from not in this area. They were here visiting family. I think they were from Utica. And they're looking around. They say, will you look at this place? What? They said, what the hell kind of dump is this? So we have all these, and you guys all know it. I'm not talking smack. You guys all know it. The place is falling apart. And it needs to be fixed. So, and then one of the other thoughts I have is the confidence in that hospital is so incredibly low. And I know it. I'm an Auburnian. I know it. They're my sisters and brothers. Are people even going to go there? I'm going to tell you what, if I have cancer, I don't give a damn who's running it. I won't go there. And it's not the people, it's the administration. I don't want them having any of my insurance money. They have taken what was a great, proud community hospital and they have ripped it to the floor. It is disgusting. And then we find out, holler at me if you want. Mr. Scott makes $250,000, which is
Bill?
more than upstate.
Bill,
Yeah.
that's for another time. Could you?
Oh, okay. Listen, I have to.
Bill, you're welcome anytime to come up and talk to me and we can go through hospital finance. And as far as the union stuff, I think you need to talk to them about what's going on there.
I do. I talk to Maureen all the time.
I think you should talk to them today. So before you get into all this in a public meeting, but this hospital is a community asset. Is a community asset that employs the
Gentlemen,
$70 million a year.
let's make it, let's set up, you can set up appointment between you two after the meetings. Bill, you had some questions for the developer?
Yeah, well, I want to make sure it's done the right way. We have gotten burned on this several times where they say they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. My favorite story is the car wash out on Grand Ave that had no business even asking for anything. And he has this long story how, well, it's a prefab and it's this and the electrical is this and this is that. Well, then one day I picked my grandson up from high school and he wanted a shake from Burger King. So there's this construction truck there, a dump truck. And I looked over it and it says so-and-so paving, Rochester, New York, 585. So I called poor Tracy. He was probably ready to go out of her mind. And I flipped. I said, are you kidding me? With all the local paving companies we have here, so we have not been respected on this. So now when we have these kind of projects in that local labor, I know you can't get all of it from Auburn County because we're small, but what you can get, you have to get. So I'll shut up now, but Jason, I'll call you tomorrow. I have a great deal of respect for Jason. I've known him forever. He's a good man. He knows his finances as well as anyone I've ever had. But I just want you to know the way it stands now, I will not support it because I'm blue collar and my brothers and sisters are blue collar and I take care of them. I always have and I always will. I love it. When I was looking at the pictures, it all looks great. You know, it would look great on that corner, but I have a lot of questions that need to be answered. So,
well,
Just one
just
thing.
just to finish this up, there are, it should be understood, and you'll get the paperwork if you apply for a pilot, that it describes the labor requirements for that the pilot requires to move forward on it. So just, I wanted you to keep that in mind.
Hey, Jim.
Okay?
Jim. Tony's got something he wants to say.
Thanks, Jim. I really take offense to this as chairman of the board of that hospital. That management team up there and the trustees, this is a full-time job for me and non-paying full-time job, by the way. And I still have a day job, but these people work their heart and soul. And through this pandemic, I cannot tell you how important these people have been. And I really take offense to you saying that the hospitals are done. Look at our financials. When you meet with Jason and he goes through, you'll understand we can't do everything. We don't have the money. We don't have the people. We can't hire people. I mean, we would hire 36 nurses that were down. We'd hire them today if we had them. But I just, I don't even know what I want to say, but I take offense to all of this, and I agree. And we did the staff.
And that's what this is, the truth hurts. I take care of common people.
It's not true. I would take you around that hospital and show you.
Gentlemen,
I'd like to offer something for consideration. And I appreciate you, because I would agree that I think this conversation could be more appropriately had outside of this meeting, because Andy came here for a specific purpose. But I think there's a kernel of something we all want to pay attention to as community leaders who really care about the health and well-being of the community. And however we are about Auburn Community Hospital, the reality is that it's here. And I think, and Bill, I'm not at all negating how you're feeling. I just think there's a kernel of something, and I wrote this down, that messaging is going to really matter. That how we talk about this together, and I want to say this to you because you're kind of like, so what I want to say to you is that I think everything you're hearing is legit and real, because it's what people, for themselves, right? Sure. But I think that as you're coming into the community to do this, helping everyone, I think Terry did a great job of sort of synthesizing what it is you're trying to do here. And I think to make it easier for those of us, should we get into a relationship, right, to communicate about what we're doing, because we're the ones that'll be in whiteness, right? When people are all of us together. And the other thing is that I think that whenever projects like this emerge, there's always all kinds of dynamics about it. I think once the community decides, and whatever role AIDA will have in that if this is going to go forward in the community, I think we have to start speaking in one voice about this and doing the best that we can. And that doesn't preclude Bill having the opportunity to feel the way he feels, our two city council colleagues. I'm sitting here as a consumer of the hospital services that have, been around the track a few times myself. But I think in the end, the purpose of tonight was to allow the hospital through Andy to talk about this potential project. And what I just want to say to you is that kind of you're hearing what bubbles underneath the surface. I get a feeling you ain't new to this. And really, Bill, I want to let you know that I'm not negating your concerns at all. I just want to say for Andy, I think it's important as you're coming into the community to do this, that everything you're hearing in this room is bubbling somewhere. And so the more you can help us understand this project, help communicate it to the community with clarity, and help address some of the objections that could come up, the better positioned you'll be to do that. And then the better position we will be at the point that you need to come here to ask for the pilot. Sure. To look at that in a really good way. Sure. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. Okay. I appreciate it.
I think we all agree that this is not the venue for that discussion, and it's time to move on. Does anybody have any actual questions that they'd like to ask about the project? Again, thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you and look forward to moving this forward. So thank you.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you.